Okay, welcome back folks. In this final video I think I'm going to just look at building a little bit more out on the external elements for outside. So we've got an interior spline here. I think what we'll do is very similar to this. We're just going to we're going to add a spline again. This is going to be an exterior spline. I'm going to move it across. What we should be able to see actually is if I compile this, we should be able to see the exterior spline just sort of start to appear. So I'm going to kind of move this and keep compiling it until it comes out of the side of the building over here. So let's see, where is it? There it is. It's still hiding inside. There we are. Now again, I'll do what I did last time. So I'm just going to move this to here, and I'm going to just sort of create the we want this to be a closed spline. Closed loop, and we'll just, there we go, set that up to sort of contain there we go, a little bit more this way. There we go. So that's going to do, I'm going to do a tag on that as well, and that is going to be, look at that, exterior spline, let's call it, yeah, let's call it exterior deco. There we go, exterior deco spline for want of a better term there. Compile that. Now we already see that perhaps in some aspects something a little bit odd has happened, because we've now got bottles outside here. So we need to go back into our PCG here and find out why our spline sample is sampling something that it's not. It should be spline sampling just the component tag of itself, and it seems to be doing that. So let's, I think it's doing any spline that's in there. What did we call it? We called it as bottle spline. There we go. So if we change this to bottle spline, there we go. It takes that out of there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy this, to be honest, and on here let's just paste this, because what I'm going to have is come out of the exterior elements here. And I'm going to basically use this, and instead of the exterior deco spline is the one I'm going to want for this particular spline, and as you can see, we can sort of sample from this. Currently not being we don't need it to have an execution dependency at the minute. So there we go, we can see that that's actually working for the right area now. In the same way as we had the variation for the interior, I'm going to do the same for the exterior here as well. So again, oh, not an event dispatcher, that's getting a little bit carried away. There we go, we've got our variables, and I'm going to have exterior variation. There we go, and I've got actually another enum here for the exterior variation. As you can see, rocks, grass, and ferns, and in the same way that we'll, and you could have more than these as well if you really wanted to. So we'll just use that as well. So we'll just come back into here, exterior variation. We're going to have enum, and where's my exterior variation enum? Make that visible. Compile. Let's duplicate and speed this up over it, this switch. And I want the active property from this as well, and we've got this as exterior there as well. Just make sure that's exterior. Oh, that's not been put inside. Just do a bit of housekeeping, keep those all together. Exterior var, that's going to be the switch in, and yes, so we want this to come out of here. Oh, okay. That's going to be, we want the integer selection there, that's better. Okay, so now this is in the same way as before. It's going to jump through zeros 1 and 2. But for each one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to only need one spline, but I'm going to have a variety of spline samplers for each variation, because each one for the rocks and the grass and everything else, they're going to have a different sort of interior sample spacing. So what I'll do is I'll just speed things up by just duplicating my sort of setup here, and then I can just sort of throw these into the interior there you go, the dependency here. So naught execution dependency, that's it, and another one execution dependency there. Spline data going into all of them because the spline data isn't changing, so that's fine with me. We can keep that, and the projection and the landscape doesn't change as well. We could have landscape data, but there we are. And then for each one I'm going to just do a transform points as well, because then each one will be different or scaled in different ways. I could as well for this make use of the exterior seed that we were using before for the rocks. So I'll do that, get actor property. In fact, I could just go and find it. Where are we? The exterior, where are we? Exterior seed. Don't even need to do anything else to that. I can just go and grab that, plug that into the seed node here. There we are. Plug these in. We want that seed to drive the variations for whatever it is that we plug together here. So let's plug in here and in here, and for each one we can set up. Now let's do a static mesh spawner, and then we can go through and set up whatever our static meshes are going to be. So for this first one at the top here, we could say these is going to be the stones, and in fact actually we can't say whatever, because I need to go back to my exterior variation enum. I've got rocks, grass and ferns, so that's what I need to spawn in here, because if you remember, it's all plugged into my switch. So rocks have got to go into my first one. So I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to just type static. In fact, I haven't actually made any static meshes yet, so I will just add some mesh entries, and then I can static in here. There we go, and that's nicely filters from here. I could do some priorities on this as well, but let's go and grab some meshes for rocks. Let's go grab our rocks, and I've got 5. I've got 4, 5 and 6 here, so I think I'll grab those. So 4, 5 and 6. That can go there. Let's just stop debugging for the time being. As you can see, we've got a variety of sort of crazy things going on. So the first thing I'm going to do in here is sort of disorientate or these in a different way. So again, -20, 20 for our offsets. Rotation, we'll throw in some rotations to give those some variation and make them stand out. And for the scale, we'll do that as well. So let's say 1 to 1.25 for those. Again, I can do some self pruning in here as well. So that it doesn't sit on it itself, and I can vary the amount of sort of self pruning that does. And the other thing I can do in here as well is control the weight of the property. So I've got quite an identifiable, like, this is almost like a cashew nut, this sort of stone here. I could choose that I want less of those. If I go and have a look at what particularly, that's stone 6. Let's scroll down, stone 4. I think it's going to be this one at the bottom. Stone 5. We probably want less of stone 5. Because it just seems pretty obvious as to what it is. It's that cashew nut curve. So let's go and do that. Let's do a weight. So stone 5 is going to have less. So what we'll say is we'll have 4 of them and 4 of those, or even 5 of those. And so for every stone that's created, then every 10 stones, 1 is stone 5, 1 is stone 4, and 5 are the others. And again, you can let's close that. Let's get it out of the way. You can go and look at your stones that you've got here, and you might say, well, actually, perhaps 4 and 6, I want, even a lot more of. So yeah, maybe for every 15 stones, 7 of these and 7 of these, and that will just leave you, only a handful of these sorts of stones. And again, that might affect how you do things like the transform points and the scale. So when you set your scale variation here, you might say, well, actually, perhaps I want some slightly larger points at the maximum, but still take care of the self sort of pruning. And don't forget that the seed here is going to do an awful lot of the work for us. So that was rocks. Then we had, in all fairness, we could just go and have a look. Rocks, grass and ferns. So in static mesh spawner for this one, we could come back in. Again, what I can do here is just sort of filter the static mesh, and again just leave these. And what I'll do is I'll just go into the plants section, and I've got a grass and a bush in here, so I can go and grab a grass variation here. Let's plug this in. I'll need to actually set this to grass as well for it to actually load in. So grass. Perhaps this one can be the sort of the bush that's in here as well. I should be able to search for this. There we go. Bush. And this one, maybe I'll just clear that out, and I could actually just remove that as well. There we go. Do I want that at all? I'm sure we could. I was sure that you could just delete these out, reset this property, remove all out. I don't want to remove all elements. There we go, little down arrow, delete. That's where the delete is. Let's go and check the weight of those elements as well. So 1 and 7. So I think in this case we want way more grass than the bushes. And again, with the transform points here, we might want a lot more sort of offset variations in here as well. So again, let's just throw some variations in here. Rotation, again, we want that grass to perhaps feel a little bit more like it's perhaps, well, look, it's still going to point largely up, but be rotated all over the place. And our scale, I think this is going to be the one that's going to be sort of really helpful in terms of the grass. You know, our scale here, I don't think that's too bad, to be fair. But let's do 0.85 and 1.1. And then we've got our variations of our grass there. You know, I feel like even the even then, okay, I'll leave our bush in there. That's fine. I think we could even have a couple of rocks in there as well. So if you do feel like things are sort of need a little bit of extra elements, let's just go and grab that rock. Is it rock 6? I think it was. In our stones, I wanted one that was like stone 6. And yeah, just a small stone that's coming through there. Yeah, again, I don't necessarily want to have self-pruning on these, which is probably why I want fewer rocks, or if any. You might have to be a little bit mindful if your rocks are spawning and clipping, that it's going to give you some issues. But if you've only got a couple, you'll be perhaps all right. With the grasses, I wouldn't worry about sort of the self-pruning unless you've got some real issues going on there. With the bushes, let's go and set that to the ferns. Again, we can just sort of spawn these in. Let's delete. I'll delete everything this time, and then in the static meshes here, let's go and get the is it going to load up? We've got there we go. So in this one you can see that we've got a little bit of issue that it's spawning way too many in our spline sample, and to be honest, I would say arguably that our grass we could be even denser. So let's go and have a little bit of a revisit of some of our properties for these. Let's change the size of our sample spacing for our grass and have a little bit more grass. We can kind of change the variation of some of these. That might be, it might be a little much. Yeah, that's perhaps a little much. 40 might be okay. And then for our ferns here, you know, we might be wanting to be as far as something like, you know, 120 or something like that. Let's go back and select that in terms of trying to debug it. We space these out a little bit more. And I think with the bush one, I think with the elements here, what we could, we're probably going to want even more spacing. I might be 150 maybe. I think the issue that we've got here is it's actually the transform point. That's why the transform points hasn't really kicked in there. So let's put that back in, and the rotation as well. And again, I always put a little bit of rotation just for the in the sort of X and Y, just so you get a bit more variation of like lean. I know that sounds like a little bit odd, but it does sort of start to weigh and actually give you a nice sort of variation in the lighting by changing those as well. I'm going to change the scale min and max here as well. Maybe I'll go down 0.6 and perhaps a maximum of 0.8. We could perhaps even go maybe a little bit less in here as well. Okay, we could do a self prune in here. Let's do that. Let's throw that through a self prune. See, I mean, that's a little bit a little bit, you know, overzealous, I would say. Yeah. Can we get a lot less than that? Like, I want it to be, I think it's going to, yeah, I think self-pruning is going to sort of kill out a lot of that. I'd be potentially, let's just disable that. Yeah, I think you're going to have to sort of perhaps decide just how how big you want the ferns to be. Oh, not 9, 0.8. Let's get that back. And again, don't forget we've got the seed that we can always play with as well if we do want the exterior seed to change those variations as well. Okay. We're largely done now with our building generator and our blueprint controls. We've got some interesting elements going on. The only thing I would want to perhaps add from this, which I sort of perhaps haven't yet done, and that is perhaps to create a level of control for actually setting these seeds and creating some variations. So what we could do there is we could add a custom function in here as well, in a custom event in the event graph. Add custom event. I'm going to call this random seed. And so when the custom event random seed here is it's called an editor, what I want to do is I want to go and get the exterior seed. I want to set that, and I want to set the interior seed as well. Say, and essentially I want to just I'm going to also grab random integer, put some, let's say, exclusive max. Again, just throw in some numbers in here for a seed. Let's plug these in. I'll put a different set of numbers in for our interior seed, and we'll plug these in here as well and compile that. And again, what we can do here is you can see we've got a random seed kind of button in here as well, and when we're pressing that we can see that our random seeds are changing. So cool. Compile that and we can save these out. That's sort of it really. I really want to thank you folks for joining me today and through this series of videos. I really enjoyed recording these for you and creating this content. I hope you find it useful. I hope you get to have a good play with what we've created here today and can use this to build your own systems and your own functions and functionality in PCG. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll get to see you again soon. Thank you.